Yes, so welcome to our talk today, and we are really just trying to convey and to show you guys that as women, we are constantly pulled in every direction. We're wearing so many different hats, and oftentimes the first thing to go is taking care of our own health and wellness and our own well-being. But we know that in order to support those who we love and those around us, we have to really prioritize our own health and wellness. So today we're going to give you some tips and tricks, and as well as some evidence-based information in ways to really focus on your health and your wellness. So we're going to talk first about physical activity, and then I'm going to switch it over to my colleagues, Emily and Rachel, who will discuss nutrition, and then we're going to bring it back to overall wellness at the end. So to tie it in with physical activity, as Dee mentioned, this is one of my specialties and one of my favorite things to talk about. And here I really want to emphasize that physical activity refers to any and all movement. So this can be walking to and from places or part of your work. And this includes both moderate and vigorous activity. A lot of ways, right, that people are physically active includes walking or biking or even sports and different ways that you can play with your family or with your coworkers or anyone who you spend time with. And so here I just want to emphasize that for physical activity, every move counts towards better health, and that regular physical activity is key to preventing and helping manage heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and even different types of cancers, as well as one of the main reasons why we're here is reducing those symptoms of depression and anxiety. And so we want to improve your memory and boost your health and your brain health by physical activity. So here are some of the positives in terms of why we want to encourage you to move more and sit less, right? Exercise has so many physical benefits. Again, right, it boosts our immune systems, which is so important right now during a pandemic. It can help lower certain risks of chronic disease like heart disease and diabetes, can also help with weight management and help you build muscle. So you can see here as well, reducing stress and anxiety, lowering risk of chronic disease, and help improve your sleep. And in this world of the pandemic and everyone working virtually, it's actually been shown that the workday is almost an hour longer than it normally is. So we're finding ourselves sitting for longer periods of times for majority of the days. And so we are going to give you some tips and tricks on how to set those healthy boundaries so that you can move more and sit less throughout your day. So I put parentheses at work, right? Because you may be at work, but you're probably at home while you're at work. And so these are some things that where you can find opportunities to be active throughout your day. Again, every minute counts, every little bit counts. So when you're at work, when you're sitting at your desk or your computer, wherever you are, try to get up every 30 minutes or so to stretch, walk down the hallway, or even, set a reminder on your phone to help you keep that consistency. If you're on the phone, if you have a meeting, try to stand and walk around, maybe just inside your home, or even if possible, try walking meetings when you don't need pen and paper, if you don't need to be by your computer. So I actually live close to one of my colleagues, and we have a standing meeting every Wednesday for all of us who are on our team to meet and chat as an update from our director. So a lot of the times it's just listening and making sure that we're all on the same page. And I see my coworker almost regularly every time. Both of us have our headphones in and we're going out for a walk in the neighborhood. So I encourage you to do that when possible, just to keep your brain moving and functioning and really staying positive throughout your day, as well as getting outside. And we're going to talk about that later. When you're at home, really try to get up during commercial breaks. If you're watching TV, even if you're watching Netflix, sometimes that can be hard, right, since there's no commercials, but try to stay active, sitting on the floor and stretching if possible. Use stairs whenever you can. And then while we're all working from home, really trying to focus on reducing that time in front of computer screens or anything, just as much as possible to help us stay active. So this is some really exciting news. It's hot off the press. Some of you guys may know this, but the World Health Organization actually just recently, this November, started their campaign for new guidelines for physical activity. The new guidelines recommend at least 150 to 300 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity per week for adults. This includes people with chronic conditions or disabilities, and an average of 60 minutes per day for children and adolescents. I do want to say for the vigorous activity, 75 to 150 minutes is also recommended, and you can do a mixture of these and a variety of whatever works for you throughout your week. To know the difference, the talk test is the best way. So if you're doing moderate activity, you could talk with a coworker, you could be on the phone, right? That leisure time during that activity so that you can have a conversation. If you're doing vigorous activity, the talk test is you could only get out 2 or 3 words per sentence. And so that's obviously not conversational. So that means you're doing that vigorous activity. So walking versus brisk walking or running. It also emphasizes that women especially, right, we should be doing strength training activity as well, at least 2 days a week. And so these provide more health benefits as well. And again, just moving forward with it, we should always try to limit that time being spent sedentary and replace that sedentary time with physical activity of any intensity, right? So anything counts and everything adds up. So these are the new physical activity recommendations from the World Health Organization. And I want to focus on strength training because at the age of 30, which some of us are maybe at or we've passed, but we lose 10% of our muscle mass each decade after that until we're about 50 years old. And so that loss increases to about 15% per decade. And this has critical implications for health, especially for females and bone density. And so strength training has been shown to reduce our symptoms of bone loss, as well as helping with anxiety and stress. And so this is really important. It can help prevent hypertension, maintain healthy body weight, improve that mental health, quality of life. And so I really want to emphasize the importance of strength training and not just getting on the treadmill or getting outside and walking, mixing it up. If you are 65 years or older, the new World Health Organizations actually emphasize functional balance and strength training 3 days or more per week to enhance that functional capacity as well as preventing falls. So if you're under 65, 2 days of strength training. If you're 65 or older, 3 days of strength training. So when we talk about activity, I feel like a lot of people think that it has to be really difficult and it needs to be something strenuous, like you may see CrossFitters and all this and professional athletes working. But I want to just really empower you to move your own way and find an activity that is enjoyable for you. So exercise with family and friends. This may look a little differently now than what it has in the past, but I will say that my training partner who I exercise with, not seen her in person almost since this whole started in March, but I see her every Monday, Wednesday, Friday because we Zoom each other while we work out. So there are ways to stay active with people, even if it's virtually. If you can, get outside, right? We know that we're spending a lot of time indoors and that exercising outside is really, really important just for our health and our mental health as well. So if you can, walk outside, bike, whatever it is to stay active, get that fresh air while safely staying away from others 6 feet, right? Also, now is a fun time to try new things because there are so many online apps or videos and virtual classes that you could explore. And so I would really try to encourage you to try bar or strength, HIIT or yoga or cardio or Pilates or kickboxing, all which can be offered online and on demand. So some on YouTube or others, depending on your financial resources, you may be able to buy an app or some type of resource. Setting a goal is really helpful as well. So maybe your goal is do yoga or stretch 4 days a week, you know, or maybe it's do a 5K. So making a plan, setting a goal and working to achieve it can be really helpful as well to keep you consistent. And so again, we want to make sure that we're moving throughout the day. Chores count, mowing the lawn counts, working in your garden, cleaning out the garage. These are all excellent opportunities to build muscle and to move. So again, just to emphasize, spending time in nature, right? This is so important because it helps us lower our stress, lower our depression levels, increase our mental focus, and we all need a little bit more nature in our life right now. It's the easiest way to get vitamin D, which is really important during the winter months as well as right now. So I take walking meetings, or I have a dog, so I walk my dog a lot. And of recent, I have joked with my coworkers who you're about to hear from that I have dressed in my ski apparel to go out and walk my dog, because that is what I need to do in order to be outside. And I may look silly, but that's what I'm doing. And so even if you're only outside for five minutes, that's really all that you need. Just spending time outside in nature is so important. I also want to focus on desk size, because a lot of us are spending time sitting. So we want to unfold, extend, and relax. So if you are catching yourself at your desk or sitting all day, here are some 5 stretches that I would really emphasize that you work on. The first one is that neck release. So just bending your neck from side to side, doing a seated twist. So just moving, twisting from side to side, get that spinal rotation. A seated pigeon, which is just kind of like the figure 4 in a chair, and stretching those hips. If you're able to stand up, you can do a quad stretch, as well as if you can't, you can stay seated and do a heart opener by interlacing your hands behind your back. So these are 5 stretches that you can do right at your desk while you're on a Zoom call, while you're in this meeting right now, just to keep moving and to add that movement throughout the day. So now I'm going to hand it over to my coworker, Emily, who's going to be talking about nutrition.
Thank you, Natalie. While we switch over, could you answer the question? We had 2 questions about what are some of the best strengthening exercises and what counts as strength training while we switch over.
So some of the best strength training movements you want to be able to do is compound movements or full body movements, because the World Health Organization says that you should, for those strength training days, upper body, lower body groups. So just for body weight activities, some of the best ones that you can do would be squats, push-ups, and push-ups can be on your kitchen counter, right? You don't need to have to get on the ground to do them. It can be that microwave minute, which is the longest minute ever, of just doing push-ups or doing air squats during that time, or even doing calf raises while you're brushing your teeth. So all of that counts and is really important. If you have more questions, I'm happy to give a little bit more information on that, and my email, I think, can be found on the Teams.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to switch gears a little bit now. We know that as working women, it can be so overwhelming to sort through the nutrition information that is out there. And so in our time together this afternoon, Rachel and I just want to take a little bit of time to walk through, what balanced nutrition looks like, offer some tips for incorporating a balanced approach into our lives. And, we'll also briefly touch on why we want to incorporate these healthy habits as it relates to stress and things of that nature. And then we'll also share some action steps for achieving mindfulness, and all of this together can help us dial down stress. And so we know that how we nourish our bodies matter, but we tend to overcomplicate this. And I know it can sometimes add more stress to our lives. And so we really just want to bring it back to the basics today and thinking through what a balanced diet looks like. And these may seem really general, but that's truly at the heart of it. And so the first thing is just having a diet that is plant-based. And when I say plant-based, I don't mean plant only, because I know for some people that's not realistic, but we want to think through how we can add those plant-based foods into our diet more. And then we also want to think about adding plenty of color. So we've all heard, the eat the rainbow in terms of fruits and vegetables, but we want to do that and then also incorporate a variety. And oftentimes these 2 things go hand in hand, but we know that plant-based diets work, and the evidence in the literature consistently supports that. We also want to focus on emphasizing quality. And what I mean by this is simply building from our main food groups. So again, with fruits and vegetables, those plant-based foods, also focusing in on whole grains, because those are going to offer us some fiber that will be good for so many so many reasons for our body, focusing on lean protein sources. So whether that's coming from animal-based proteins or plant-based options, those are great as well. And then focusing as well on healthy fats. So things like avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oil. When we do this and we build around these, these 2 bullet points, we're able to ensure adequate intakes for the many nutrients that our body needs. And this ultimately will lead to the many benefits of a nutritious diet. And truly, I mean, like I said, we just want to focus on these basics because those are the building blocks for our health. And this is going to give us the energy that we need for our busy lives. Natalie's already touched a bit on the immune system, but focusing on this can also ensure that we're supporting healthy immune function. And that's really important as we head into the winter months, and then also fuel our minds. And we do this through the gut-brain connection. And I do just want to say before I delve into this that I'm not even going to be scratching the surface. We have colleagues who teach courses over this topic, but we want to touch on it today because we really think it's directly connected to so much of our diet and then how that can really translate to our behaviors. And so we've all heard the saying, to go with your gut, and this bidirectional communication is the exact reason why. So this gut-brain axis is the highway of communication for our bodies. So our brain tells our gut what to do, how to move foods through our digestive tract, how to send nutrients where they need to go for bodily functions. And then our gut in turn signals these neurotransmitters such as dopamine and serotonin, and these influence our mood and our behavior. When this communication happens as it should, when everything is healthy, we have normal behaviors and we feel our best. But if something happens to disrupt this communication for any reason, our body enters into this stressed state, and we can see some changes in our behavior, and we may even experience some physical symptoms, like an upset stomach or things of that nature. And so we want to do what we can to maintain homeostasis by getting the nutrients that we need. And I want to focus on 2 key points here because I think we've all connected to really wanting to take care of ourselves. And there are 2 pieces in particular that play a role with this gut-brain connection. The first being serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter that I just want to emphasize because it connects this emotional and cognitive center in our brain to control and function of our gut. And most serotonin in our bodies is produced and stored in our gut. And so when we take care of our gut best by nourishing it with, those different foods from those food groups, and we really take care of it, it ensures that we reap the benefits that this happiness hormone can provide. And, I know we were talking today, the whole point of our presentation is to help dial down stress, and just wanting to add here that, stress can influence our gut in many ways. It also can affect our digestive tract in many ways. I know this morning we even were having a conversation with a colleague about how she's been experiencing heartburn and some other symptoms. And so we know that stress plays a role in so many parts of our bodies, and it can influence the gut-brain communication at all stages of life. And so we really want to think about this when it comes to our gut health and really just what we eat to ensure that, we're taking care of ourselves. And this includes focusing in on what we're eating. And I say all of this because our Western style diets typically don't emphasize foods that support our health and wellness. We tend to lean towards high fat, high sugar, hyperpalatable foods. And hear me, there is absolutely nothing wrong with having those foods in your diet, but we don't want that to be the foundation. We really want to build around those key nutrients, so fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, healthy fat, so that we can ensure we best support our physical bodies, but also our mental health, our mood, and our behaviors. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Rachel to share a bit more about how we eat can influence our health and ultimately just how mindfulness can play a role.
Thank you, Emily, for laying. Let me see if I can for laying that groundwork as we continue to dive into how what we are consuming really impacts so much of our mental well-being. And whether you are in a particularly stressful period of your life or you experience chronic daily stress, and let's be honest, who isn't this year? It is common to turn to stress eating, or in some cases under eating, when stressed for comfort. What's important to acknowledge is that this is okay and normal to do. We consume food for many reasons and not just for physical nourishment. Whether it be cultural experience or tradition, we have the holidays coming up, and a lot of times we just had Thanksgiving filled with, so many delectable foods. We do it for social bonding, and then this also includes stress and emotions. Every once in a while, eating for comfort may be exactly what you need. However, it can become troublesome when it is something you experience on a regular basis. Stress eating happens when your stress levels guide what, when, and how much you eat, rather than your physical hunger signals and cues. It is often characterized by a loss of control around food while in a stressed state, therefore losing some of that ability for us to connect with our bodies and truly nourish ourselves with what we need in that moment. Mindful eating goes beyond just what is on our plates, and while it is important to know how to nourish yourself and eat the nutrients your body needs to feel and function its best, it is not the whole picture, and that alone will not help you sustain healthy eating habits to maintain for life. But mindful eating practices can help us properly manage these stress eating tendencies. So when we start following mindful eating practices, it can help create intentional balance with your eating habits, and it will make it possible for you to eat well on a daily basis. So I'm going to share a few tips to help us get started as we begin thinking about mindful eating. The first one is check in with yourself before and after meals. So before and after eating, I want you to make an intentional point to stop and ask yourself, how do I feel? Are you hungry, full, relaxed, emotional, stressed? By doing this, you can help determine why you may be eating, which oftentimes is because we're hungry, but at times this is not the case. Practicing this self-check-in over time will help cultivate that mind-body connection, and it helps you become more self-aware and better understand your personal relationship with food. Thereby, you develop a habit of being more mindful of your food and your eating habits. The second one is removing all distractions. Mealtime distractions can take away from the mindfulness of eating, which pulls our attention away from our mealtime experience and hinders that mindful self-awareness with our food. If we think about all the distractions we have while we're eating, we have our phones, TV, email, work tasks. We focus on so many other things rather than just eating. Therefore, I want to challenge you to bring the attention back to your meal and notice that you may be more likely to acknowledge and notice you're hungry, how your food tastes, how full you are, your satiety, and it may improve your overall experience of your meals. Next, we want to create distinct meal times by eating at the table. So along the lines of removing distractions, we want to make sure that we're eating our meal at the table. And I know this kind of sounds intuitive, but sitting at a table is a great practice since so many of us have grown accustomed to eating at our desk or the couch or anywhere else. And it's important to dedicate your table to actually eating. Creating and cultivating an environment that trains your brain to recognize that it is mealtime, to slow down and eat, is a key component to connecting this mindful eating practice. This is similar to what we hear about making sure our bedroom is dedicated only to sleeping. So just to cultivate that environment that your brain corresponds this practice together. Next, we want to make sure that we are nourishing our body, and Emily did a great job of kind of introducing, those key components that we want to consider. We want to make our meals tastier by incorporating a variety of foods and an abundance of plant-based and whole foods. And this is another way to practice mindful eating. I personally build meals by trying to focus on including 5 components: a protein, a non-starchy carbohydrate, which a lot of times for me is greens. Next, a starchy carb like a rice, pasta, healthy fats like avocados, cheese a lot of times for me. And lastly, we want that flavor factor, and that is often the sauces or the dressing, something that pulls it all together. By maintaining a variety within this kind of meal formula, it helps us ensure that you're getting a variety of vitamins and minerals. And lastly, we want to make our mealtime experience a 10. Most simplistically, what mindful eating practices boil down to is a satisfaction survey. I remember when we used to go to restaurants, but especially when I was younger, and they would leave little satisfaction cards on the table with those little pencils, and you would fill it out, and it would ask you, how was your meal? How was the service? Was the restaurant clean? We are meant to experience our food with all of our senses, the way it tastes, how it smells, how it feels, and what it looks like. So how do you make your experience a 10 on your satisfaction scale? This can be by creating a nutrient-dense meal or finishing off with a sweet treat. This is especially important if you find yourself stuck in the mindset of avoiding certain foods. Instead, give yourself permission to enjoy them, but by being intentional about how you enjoy them. For example, I see this oftentimes with mindless snacking, so like cookies and sweets, a lot of times that can be in break rooms, you just peruse and eat them. It's okay to eat these foods and these, items in moderation, but by practicing mindful eating, you may realize that it isn't the most satisfying way to enjoy these foods at those times. So instead of telling yourself, oh, I just won't eat that, and creating restrictions for yourself and these foods, reframe this practice to making it a 10, satisfaction. This gives you permission to enjoy these foods, but just is more intentional about it. And I encourage you to think about how you can make your mealtime as satisfying as possible while taking these other tips into consideration, because little shifts like this can really transform your thinking and experience with food. So to continue on, this mental reframing practice that is mindful eating, creating a positive relationship with food starts with realigning the way we think about nourishing our bodies. This puts our mind at ease because we trust that we know what our body needs and that we are capable of providing it just that. Removing the rigidness around eating and mealtime is the first step to fostering a positive relationship with food, and by eating more mindfully, we can achieve that. Having a healthy relationship with food and a positive body image are also really important. And as women, we face influences from peers and the media more frequently, which especially I feel like can cause younger women to set unrealistic weight goals or develop a negative body image. Disruption in our normal patterns of eating and sleeping, combined with that complex hormonal balance of homeostasis that women's bodies must regulate, can sometimes lead to an unhealthy image issues to develop. We layer that with the constant inundation of beauty standards and expectations that our media-driven culture exposes us to, and it can be difficult to really filter and maintain a positive body image for ourselves. However, by following these health practices that we've shared with you today and that we're going to continue to wrap up, can help cultivate well-rounded and positive health, thus instilling the self-confidence and positivity we all should be proud to project to the world, because it's possible for people to be healthy at all different sizes and shapes. And one key thing I want to touch on is that it's important to build flexibility into your regular habits to allow for times when they will be broken. There's so many times when external circumstances require us to pivot, adjust, and adapt. So we have to be flexible in order to go with the flow. It may seem contradictory when we think about revamping some of our health practices and habits, but we have seen this kind of restrictive all or nothing mentality taught in so many of these diet plans, which tells you that you need to be strict with the way that you eat and your lifestyle habits. However, we all know that this rarely works in real life because being too rigid can cause you to develop some unhealthy thoughts and behaviors that really can be more damaging to our well-being, rather than having just built a little bit of flexibility into that. If your habits are getting in the way of you enjoying your life, I promise you have got it backwards. The reason we create healthy nutrition and lifestyle habits, whether they're related to what we eat or how we move or care for our bodies, is so we feel our best. Because when we feel our best, it translates to a positive, accepting, and celebrated view of ourselves. So this picture was created from one of my favorite social media accounts, and we actually are going to share some social media accounts that we all personally follow and support. And it depicts that continuous pattern people can experience while trying to pursue healthy eating, often those rigid diet plans that we just talked about. So falling into that start and stop cycle, it can prevent you from experiencing the sense of balance, peace, and freedom with food and eating especially. Without mindful eating practices, it's easy to fall into that mentality and to feel bad about getting off track. However, when you have that strong mindful eating practice, you possess that awareness, and it can easily realign yourself to following healthy eating practices again. Bottom line, we want you to focus on eating energizing foods, engaging in fun physical movement, and getting enough sleep and healthfully managing that stress. So now I am going to hand it back over to Natalie to wrap it all together into how these physical activity and nutrition components can translate to overall wellness.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel, so much. So we're going to wrap up now with wellness, and winter and the holidays, right, are in full swing. Rachel mentioned that, and it can be an extremely stressful time, not to mention this year adding presidential election anxiety, social justice unrest, and a pandemic. So really want to give yourself permission to relax, right? Many of us forget to give daily relaxation a high priority, that we do food or movement and sleep. And I think that this lack of routine, of switch off, of giving ourselves time to relax is one of a really pressing issue in our modern society, especially when we're working from home, more demands, and distant online learning. So for your health, giving yourself permission to relax is more critical than ever. It's something that I've definitely struggled with myself. However, I'm going to share with you some tips that I've used and seen huge benefits, both for myself as well as the people around me. So this is a quote that I really like, that work and rest are not competitors, they are partners. And so that's really what we're going to focus on today. So here are 5 tips to help you relax, because we can't control everything that's going on in the world, but there's plenty that we can focus on that are key to our health and well-being. So routines are really important, and ways of grounding and rooting ourselves each day, especially when the world around us is changing so fast. And so I start each day with movement, coffee, and mindfulness or reading. So that is my me time every day. So whatever that is for you, have me time every day whenever you can get it in. Take time away from social media, the news, and being consumed with screens. Maybe try a screen-free Sabbath, whatever that looks like for you, or maybe just setting a screen time limit besides work. Keep a gratitude journal. Gratitude changes the way that you feel instantaneously, and this has been something that I have been working on. I actually have my gratitude journal right here, right by me. So something that I've been working on, of really taking the time to do that. Really important, enforce boundaries between work time and home time. If you're working from home, enforce boundaries, change rooms, only be on your laptop or computer during a certain time of day. And then my favorite is have a ritual of some sort that you perform at the end of the day to signal to your brain that working portion of the day is done and you can shift back to your personal life, right? We're not leaving the office anymore. We're staying where we are. So really set those boundaries. And then try to eat 1 meal per day around a table or just without a device. So finally, I do want to end with how to relax. It's okay not to feel okay. If you feel anxious or sad or stressed during the holidays or during this time, don't beat yourself up about it. Maybe write down how you're feeling and then phone a friend to share, right? Practicing the accepting and sitting with our feelings is important. Write them down, but reach out to people as well if you're finding it hard to relax. Also, I want to touch on sleep. Sleep is vital for our health and well-being. If you aren't getting enough sleep, or if you aren't getting quality sleep, you may find yourself more tired or less likely to start the day feeling refreshed. So getting quality sleep and enough sleep is vital for our mental health to reduce that stress, as well as maintain a healthy physical body. So when you haven't slept, right, your emotional brain goes into overdrive. So this is your amygdala, the alarm system responsible for triggering emotions such as fear, sadness, anger, or rage, becomes significantly more sensitive. Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex, so your rational brain responsible for making sensible decisions, becomes diminished. So this explains why when we're tired, we may struggle to concentrate, or why you may feel a little bit more emotional or even reactive. That's what I'm guilty of. And so make sure that you take important sleep. So try to wake up roughly at the same time every day, expose yourself to bright light and natural light in the morning. Just turn those lights on as soon as you wake up. Try to exercise and eat early in terms of don't eat right before bed or big meals right before bed. Try to limit caffeine and alcohol before you go to sleep, as well as just minimizing exposure to blue light or screens during the evening. So stop maybe using screens at least 30 minutes before bed. And these have huge benefits for your health, and you can see those listed to the right as well. So I do want to share some of my tips. So here are 3 things that I do in the morning, because I think that better sleep starts in the morning. So a lot of times people think that you have to have this night routine, which I think is great, but you also should have a morning routine, right? So expose yourself to natural light. Natural light is important in getting that circadian rhythm going. And now during the winter, it's a little different, but try to get outside every morning, even on cloudy days. Like I said, it can make a huge difference. Practice mindfulness or breath work in the morning, a practice that can make it easier to sleep at night. So journal, maybe meditate or breathe. Box breathing is really helpful in lowering stress and calming the nervous system, and it can take your mind away from those distracting thoughts. And so box breathing is really easy. You breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, and hold for 4 seconds, like you're making a box, and you can look up that really easily. You also try to enjoy your caffeine. So I love coffee, people who know me, but I try to stop drinking coffee at noon because caffeine sticks in the body for a long time. So if you struggle with sleep, maybe try limiting your caffeine intake to improve your quality of sleep. So lastly, to wrap us up, I want to end with a loving kindness meditation. And this is the act of expressing gratitude. And it has just a whole host of positive effects, right? Data suggests it not only feels good to have someone express gratitude towards you, but the most powerful effect is actually expressing gratitude for yourself. So this can sound cheesy if you aren't used to this technique, but basically what you do, rather than focus on your breath in a typical meditation activity, you actually focus on feelings of compassion, and you try to extend that compassion to other people, which we all could use a little bit more of these days. So I'm going to invite you to join me in this short loving kindness meditation. So you're invited to close your eyes, sit comfortably where you are, and really just try to relax your whole body. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And just try to soften your focus inward. And I'm going to be offering you guidance in phrases, and you're invited to silently repeat those phrases. So with your eyes closed to begin, we're going to send loving energy to ourselves by mentally repeating the following phrases. May I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be safe, and may I be at peace. Keeping your eyes closed, I want you to think of someone close to you who you love very much, a relative or a friend. And this person, like you, wishes to have a happy life. I want you to send warm wishes to that person by repeating the following phrases. May you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, and may you be at peace. Now I want you to think of an acquaintance, someone who you don't know very well, toward whom you have no particular feelings. It could be a neighbor or a student or someone who you see around, but you don't know them. And like you, they want to have a good life. I want you to send good wishes to that person by repeating the following phrases. May you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, and may you be at peace. Now I want you to picture someone who has hurt you or someone who you don't particularly like, and one positive quality about this person. This person, like you, wishes to have a happy life, and I want you to send warm wishes to that person, repeating the following phrases. May you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, and may you be at peace. Now I want you to expand your awareness and picture the whole world in front of you as a small sphere. And I want you to send warm wishes to all living beings on this planet who, like you, want to be happy and healthy. We repeat the following phrases silently, saying, may all be well, may all be happy, may all be loved, and may all be at peace. And I want you to take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, and just let it go. And notice the state of mind and how you feel after this meditation. So when you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes. And I just wanted to share just what a loving kindness meditation is and how meditation can be a guided meditation. It can be simple, it can be cheesy at first, but really important in expressing compassion to ourselves and to others, as well as just taking that time for our wellness to practice mindfulness as well. So we want to thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate you guys taking time. Hopefully some of these tips will help you in your future as working women to dial down your stress. Like Rachel mentioned, these are some of our social medias, people who and platforms that we follow. So all three of us work for UK Cooperative Extension Family and Consumer Sciences Services, and so that's the first tag that you'll see. We have offices in all 120 counties of Kentucky, and so it's a great way to get evidence-based information on health and wellness if you want to dive in more, as well as UK Health and Wellness, UK Active Women Health Initiative, Dr. Nick Truby, and then we have Nutrition Stripped, which is who Rachel shared some of her images from, as well as Dr. Jesse Hoffman, which is some information that Emily shared as well. So these are great platforms if you're looking for evidence-based information to further your deep dive into health and wellness.